All right, Krishav is here, joined by the one and only two-time Olympic champion Valarie Allman and coach Zebulon Sion. Just days after winning here at the Paris Olympics. Don't leave him hanging.
I can't leave you hanging. Sorry.
After that intro? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. All right. What are the feelings? And, I guess, how have you been processing just the emotions of the last 48 hours, essentially?
Emotions are definitely high. Caffeine is definitely high. I feel like I'm at that point where it's just you're kind of going with the flow at this point. But I feel just really grateful, to put so much hard work and sacrifice into something and have it just align and go your ways. It feels really validating, and I'm just grateful I get to be here with my family, with Zebulon, and enjoy the moment.
The big thing, I guess, for you that you've highlighted about this, getting the most out of this Olympic experience, was the fact that it feels totally different from Tokyo in the sense that the crowds are full and you're coming at it with a different sort of mentality. What was that mentality coming into the competition this time around where, yes, you were the reigning Olympic champion, but there have been bumps along the road in the last couple of years. And so how did all of that play into your mindset coming into this Olympics?
Yeah, I mean, I think motivation can come from a lot of different places, and that really is what I felt going into this games. I definitely had a lot of pride to want to earn the title again, but at the same time, I knew that what was actually going to prepare me to win was part one is that devotion and routine and all those things, but part two is getting to a place mentally where I really felt solid and complete and happy, and that being able to do what I love of go and compete wasn't going to define who I was, no matter how it played out, medal, no matter what color it was, that I would feel good about the effort. And it was genuine. I felt that way going out into the field of play, and I think that's kind of what allowed me to really just be in the moment and give it my all.
Coach, how do you nurture that mindset just throughout the regular season and in training so that it shows up on the biggest stage?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we constantly were talking about exactly what she's saying, right? How we approach it, how we think about it, that she's not, the moment is not bigger than her, that she's built and made for the moment. I think that was something that I constantly was reminding her. On the daily, she'd be like, I can do it, right? And very seriously, and almost out of nowhere, we'd be getting a water out of the fridge, I can do it, right? And I'd be like, yes, you can do it, so it is, and it obviously between the ears is the biggest thing at this point. I mean, she up to this point in the 2024 season is undefeated, right? So, it's not that she isn't capable. We've known she's capable, but obviously what was going on in between her ears was the most important thing. And I think that the way we talked about it, the way we gave it fair weight, it's you have already won one, so that was good. And it's not gonna define whether she is living a happy, full, energetic, positive, joyful life. And I think we got to a point where that's why it went well, because life is great. So
if we go back to last summer, I remember even when we sat down with you guys in Budapest, that you guys practiced that morning. It may have been even the day after the competition, there was a practice or something there that at that point, the gears shifted already to, all right, let's close out this season strong, but the work is already beginning for this year. Is it hard to stay engaged essentially from the end of the last World Championships up until now and a relief now that it's over?
Yeah, I think there's always a bit of mixed emotions to have something on the horizon that you're so invested in, and then it's there and it's there and there, and then it's just done, and that feeling is hard to wrap around. I think looking back to Budapest, the emotions that I felt at that moment were so, honestly, mostly they were pretty challenging, but I do think in hindsight, I should have figured out how to celebrate that moment more. I think I've come to realize every medal tells a different story, and whatever it is, you got to figure out how to celebrate it. And I really wanted to make that commitment this time that I was just going to enjoy being with the people that I care about so much, no matter what. But we've yet to train since this meet, and it feels quite good. I know he has a masterful evil plan that will be humbling as soon as we get back into it. But it is really this time about just embracing the Olympic spirit. I think that's what I missed so much in Tokyo, and to be in a city so full of energy, be in a stadium so full of energy. It's definitely unique, and and something that I want to maximize.
On the technical side of things, what were some of the adjustments or tweaked made looking at this year? Because it wasn't that last year or even the year before that that you weren't throwing great or anything like that. You were still just, top of the list at, each time out. It just so happened in Budapest that things didn't play out the way that you'd hoped. So were there any sort of little tiny tweaks in the technical aspect of throwing for this year that you guys made to, get to this point where 4 of your throws would have won this thing?
I think, well, I'll take that real quick. I mean, I think that, when we did do the interview with you like a year ago after Budapest, one of the things I told you in that space was like, we needed to take that next level, right? Like go to the next level, I'm saying, because we had seen in the last 2 globals that people can throw far, people can respond. And even though she was winning most of the meets of the season, like they still did that. And so we just had to get to a point where, like you're saying, like, it's like your 4 legal marks are going to win, kind of space. And we have leveled up. I mean, her average this season is about a half a meter further if you average every meet she competed in. So, I mean, and that's like real. I mean, at this point when you're already at a level that she's at. So, I mean, I think for us, the way we did that was, definitely adjusting some training cycles and some timing. We kind of did like 3, I'll call them mini peaks, and so that was her trip to China, which she did so well. She threw 69 high in both those competitions, both time lane competitions. The second mini peak was the Olympic trials, where she threw 70 meters in the prelim and 70 meters in the final, which was nuts. And then this obviously was the third, and 69.59 in the prelim and 69.51 in the final was awesome. So and there was a technical component to that, trying to make just a few small changes to her timing that like basically made her technique, even though it looks pretty similar if you watch it fast, just a bit more reliable. And I think was the goal.
For you, I guess when you looked at the calendar for the year, I mean, did you, I guess, look at it being like, all right, I have to check these boxes, and then ultimately, if all of them are checked by the time I get to Paris, and like we're good. But then at the same time, you can't rest on your laurels, right? Like you get to this stage, and you have to be cognizant of the fact that, like, yeah, these women can respond.
Oh yeah, I felt that the whole time. Round 6, I was definitely having some like PTSD, and I was like, gosh, I really feel like it's gonna play out how the competition, like how the podium was currently done, but like anything can happen, and I do feel like women's discus right now is just really strong, and I knew my competitors were capable of throwing a PB on the day, but I was proud of myself that, like, even in my head, I was like, you know what, you can respond. You have worked so hard to be in a position that you can also be better if you need to be, which it really felt good to talk to myself that way. I mean, I think like in Budapest, I didn't have that inner voice, it was definitely one of doubt, of knowing like, I think it was a big moment of growth to realize like, okay, I'm going to fight no matter what, and feeling optimistic about how it would have played out. But, it's only going to keep getting more intense. I mean, I think that there's many great battles coming up, and there's about 1 week where I'm going to rest on my laurels, and then I'm going to get back to grinding it out. So it's definitely a good time.
Walk me through this final at the Olympics, because it's sort of like by round 2, that's sort of where you took the lead and then never let it up. But how did you go about thinking of each one? What did you want to get out of each one of the throws?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I felt really confident and strong in the prelim. I felt like mentally locked in. I felt like my body was in a great spot, really connected to my mind. I felt like our approach was so good. Hit it on the first throw. It was awesome. I felt like if I would have taken 2 more throws, like I could have thrown a PB. I just felt like locked in. And then the final came, and it was such a different reaction. I felt just maybe that like the pressure of it being the Olympic final, the pressure of the stands, the pressure of so many of the people I care about watching that moment. And I definitely was just kind of off to start. My warm-ups were off. My first throw was so bad. I don't think I've had a throw that bad in some years. And
time.
Seeing his face,
what are you thinking in that moment?
I was like, we're going to do it the hard way. I was like, because it's true. I mean, she hadn't had a throw like that all year. Like, I was like shocked. I was like, did that really just happen? Like, I was like, but I got to keep it cool, So then she came over, and I was like, we're good. We're fine. And like the cues aren't going to change. The thoughts aren't going to change. You just need to obviously, do it again. Right. And then it was beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, that's where Zeb is so great. Is like, he was like, okay, let's drill it out. Let's get the thoughts right. And I mean, at that point, once the second throw was in, it really just gave me so much more confidence to get back to those thoughts of how we execute.
So then second throw, I guess when you let it go, did you know that this was the one that would put you out in front?
No. At that point, I knew it would definitely. My thought was that it would get me to a spot of medaling, but I thought it was probably going to take more to end up with gold. It is cool that throw would have been enough, but I definitely felt like I had more in the tank. I mean, I feel like so much of our approach was really trying to focus like on our own goals and whatnot. And I mean, we'd been talking about trying to go for the Olympic record, and that's kind of where our mind was, you know? So the 68 mid felt really good, but I was trying to aim big, and that's definitely what the goal was on round 6. So
fifth throw was the farthest, right? Fourth or fifth?
It was fourth or fifth.
Fourth. What did you feel on that one?
The fourth one felt good. I mean, I do feel like a lot of my throws were really close to hitting it, but still kind of off, you know? So it's definitely exciting that I do feel like there's more there. And a lot of the stuff, it's like physically priming yourself, having your technical thoughts be aligned, being able to do it with as much effort as you can. And I feel like I've never quite put all those things together, which is something that I really aim to do.
The pressure of the environment, though, the way you described, just sort of like going out there and just the number of people that are there. Physically, what does that feel like? Is it the muscles tightening up? Is it just sort of like you're not able to relax? You can't hear yourself? Like, what is it about the environment that led to sort of that? The description of I feel off.
Yeah, I mean, I for me, when you get that like rush of adrenaline pressure mixture, to me it feels like my body kind of just like tightens up. Like it's so hard to like feel your legs. You feel like you're kind of just like walking on a cloud. And in throwing, I feel like so much of it is like your legs are your engine, and like figuring out how to make them kind of like lead the throw is one of the hardest parts. And that is where it's like, okay, you have to be able to be mentally strong to tell your body what you want to do exactly in that moment.
I guess, how are you watching the whole thing unfold, and what did you make of sort of like this environment for her?
I mean, the environment was great, and I, you know, and a big part of my messaging was definitely like, okay, like you're made for this. Like this is literally like with her little, you know, her dancer background, you know, we've all seen it, you know, she puts the vibe out, but it's who she is, you know what I mean? When she's at her best, right? It's like, you need to embrace this, you need to embody this, like this is who you are. And I think, you know, after round 1, I mean, you know, generally she comes over, you know, at a certain time, and I wasn't waiting for it. I was like, no, come over now, you know? And so she came over after the first throw, and I was like, hey, like this is not okay, like this is not who you are, kind of thing. And I like it was kind of like feisty, but like she needed to snap out of it, you know what I mean? Like it's like you need to be you, and then, you know, from there on it was money. But and like honestly, the last throw was even though it wasn't quite as far as the other round, it was so special, you know, like tears in her eyes, like you know, she took it in, she was looking around, started the clap, you know, and still threw far. And I mean, that moment was really amazing.
Yeah, describe, I guess, what made you overcome with emotion into that 6th throw.
I mean, I do think this is where just like the past few years, it made for an extra special moment. Sometimes when the story does play out different than how you expect, it can hurt so much in the moment, but you have to believe it's like part of a different storyline that you don't know what's going to come. And to actually win this one, you know, have it like work out as you hope, as you dream, it hit me of like, wow, we really did it, you know? And I mean, when you face adversity, it's always a why in the road. And I've said before, like, I'm the type of person it's going to motivate me, but that doesn't mean it's always easy, you know? And I watched Bin Feng take her last throw, and it was like immediate, you know, just like the tears in the eyes, like looking at Zebulon and realizing like, wow, like it's real, you know? Like it's not what we've talked about 1,000 times. It's not living in the past of when we did it in Tokyo, you know, it's like, wow, we just did it in Paris, you know? And I feel like that special Olympic moment for me was that round 6 of just like that stadium being there with me, the energy building and having that moment of like throwing my hands up in the air and just like soaking it in. That is like what you really dream of. So it was cool.
Even from the moment you came out and they did the entrances, like you were amped up for this one. Like when I saw you on the jump board, I was like, wow. I was like, she is pumped for this. I was like, this is gonna be a good one. what was that? Was it just the 80,000 people that you had kind of all eyes on you in that moment?
I think so. I mean, I think I've been trying to work as like a person and an athlete, like being more comfortable embracing that. I think like my personality outside of sport is quite like humble and shy, and that's just like who I am. And I think embracing who you are is important, but at the same time you do have to like lean into whatever the environment is. And in that environment, I knew I had to be my most outgoing, confident self so I could embrace what it was, not like succumb to the pressure, to the environment. Because compared to Tokyo, like the crowd is an influence. You have to like actively be thinking about it, embracing it. Otherwise, like it will influence you subconsciously and consciously. So it's so funny because I felt like I really didn't even think that much about the intro after, but my family afterwards was like, "You like the poses you hit and everything," and I was like, "What? I don't even know what I did," but apparently it's like my alter ego now. So.
Yeah. One of the cool components that they added to this Olympics after someone wins is they get the chance to ring that bell, and some people have done a great job. Others, I'm like, come on, put a little bit more into it. Your bell ringing was fantastic.
Thank you.
I thought she was gonna crack it.
Yeah, right. It's like it's Paris has got a Liberty Bell.
Yeah, exactly.
What was that like?
Well, I will say like the clips I saw of other athletes doing it, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Like,
is it one hand, two hands?
Yeah, right? It kind of seemed like a little bit staged, whatever. And then they're very adamant when they usher you to the bell. It's like, you are going to ring this bell. And I think I was still kind of like absorbing it. And then I was like sitting there and I had my hand on the rope. And then it was just like a rush. And I just started like ringing it as hard as I could. I do think there might be a crack in it. If it ever breaks at the Notre Dame, I will take credit for that. I will be the one that did the most damage.
Definitely.
But it was a really cool moment. And the fact it gets to be part of French history it's such a compliment to these Olympics and how thoughtful they were about so many different touch points.
So you do the victory lap, and then from there, how much, I guess, was the medal ceremony that same
No,
night?
our medal ceremony was the next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it weird to have to wait until like this is in your hands, like, or for what is it, overnight? Like you don't actually have it yet, right?
It was very weird, especially because at World Champs they've been doing these instant medals. So
I love that.
So and I've really come to love that. What made it feel the most funny is doing media the whole next day. You're now with like athletes from other sports, and there's these moments where it's like they all put on their medals, and you're sitting there medalist, and you're like, you kind of just feel like the dunce in the corner of the room, like
you're like, I actually did do it.
Yeah,
guys.
But I mean, it is. There's so much of a high, like that moment you win and whatnot, that it's nice to have a moment separate from that. And I really felt that last night going back for the medal ceremony and not having my hair like so like just feeling more like a person, that it made the moment feel like another point that I'll really remember from these games.
Yeah. To hear the national anthem standing on top of the podium, did you have to fight back the tears? I was looking very closely on the Jumbotron. I was like, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? No, I didn't see any.
There was some mist, like tear balls that fell, but it was a really special moment. It's actually pretty crazy. I've become good friends with Sandra Elksavik, who got bronze, and for a long time she was a role model for me, and then she was probably my biggest rival, and now I'm really grateful that she's a friend of mine. And we were standing kind of in the back before we walked out, and she said, Valarie, this is the first time I'm going to be on the podium, and she's been on the podium a lot of times, and I'm going to hear the American anthem. And she said, I'm going to be really proud to hear it. And I think it was so much more than just like that moment of seeing the flag raised and hearing the anthem, but knowing that like the podium felt positive, and that my family was there, and just I do think that is like for me the moment both times that has been like, wow, this is real, and this is an honor, and so much. This sounds a little bit tacky, but like a lot of our national anthem is about like the hard part of our country being defined, and there's a lot of hard parts in being an Olympian and pursuing goals, and I think it just kind of like really resonates with you in that moment.
Team USA is on one right now. Like, is there something that's palpable that you kind of feel? Like I've seen the video clips so far of like everyone getting together and watching like the men's 100, and then last night like the men's 1500, and people just jumping up and down. But is it something that like when you get back to, you know, the Olympic Village, or when you're hanging around other members of the team, that they're like, hey, like, thanks, that in some way, shape, or form, like that also helps the people around you?
I think so. I think that there's definitely been a big movement of people really leaning all the way in and feeling like they can bridge that gap of going from being really great as a U.S. athlete to a really great on the world stage. And the more people that you see make that jump, whether it is as a thrower, as a field eventer, or just as an athlete, and the more you like believe that you can do it and you want to do it. And I just feel like there's been more of a serious edge to a lot of the Team USA track people, rather than just like here to enjoy it, you know, and it definitely is infectious, which I think is resulting in a lot more medals.
Is there anything, I guess, like now that, you know, this is one of probably dozens of interviews that you'll probably be doing over the next couple weeks because of this big moment, that you kind of want to take? It's like, hey, like this time around, my story around this medal and this performance is really about, you know, mental health, or, you know, just kind of the mindset shift that you've had to take over the last couple of years. What is it sort of that this medal tells a story of, that you're hoping, even when you're sitting down with, you know, a non, you know, track centric like media outlet, that you're hoping gets across to like a bigger audience?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I think if I had more time, I'd have a more refined answer. But the biggest thing I feel is that the ultimate success comes from having balance, you know, and I've had success in the past, but it's never felt as good as this has, because of like all of the good that's going in my life, the people I get to share it with, the stability of being in a great relationship, of owning a house, things that like grew outside of track that made it feel so energizing to then go do what I love. I didn't feel the weight of the world that was going to define me in one moment. The moments like are so far beyond what happens in the arena, that I think this medal is the start of a new chapter of really embracing being Valarie the person, and feeling that in how people talk to me and have celebrated this, rather than Valarie the discus thrower. And I hope that people, when they support athletes, that they continue to recognize that there's so much more than just going for gold. That is like one blip that's going to pass, and making them feel celebrated for all of the work they do, all the sacrifice, all of the vulnerability that they share in pursuing something so public is really important.
So how are we celebrating this one? I know we're here at the Asics HQ. They decked you out with some new custom shoes.
Drippy.
Did you get like your huge chocolate croissant that you had bookmarked on Instagram yet? Like that's got to be on the list.
It is on the list, and I do have a couple things that I'm really excited to do here. We did get burgers at 2 a.m. after the meet, and it was probably one of the best burgers I've ever had. Burgers.
Delish.
Wow.
It was delicious. We got there right before it ended, and they recognized me. They were so excited. They gave us this kind of bizarre free strawberry shortcake, but it was great. We were very into it. But I am excited to go to bakeries. There's one called Mamiche that is like very high on the list, which I'm going to hit up. So the enjoying Paris is like just getting ready to start, which will be great.
And then when you guys get back to Austin, I saw a quote, I guess, you know, in some article. There's like Valarie Allman, after winning gold, like ready to eat all the barbecue. Was that something you said like in the press conference in the mix?
It said like a pound of brisket. Did you
That's
actually say that?
I did not say
This
that.
quote has gotten.
You've seen it too,
yeah,
right?
it's changed though.
Yeah.
It's not what she actually said.
No, that was never said.
I might eat a pound of brisket. But no, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't eat it.
You could definitely do it. No, I did say that. I was doing an interview with like a local Austin station. They're like, what do you want to do when you get back to Austin? I was like, I want to go to Terry Black's barbecue. And then suddenly Terry Black's barbecue restored it, and they're saying like, we can't wait to welcome you back. So now apparently all I eat is meat. I'm on the carnivore diet. Watch
Forget
out.
about it.
Yeah. So no, but I actually do now want Terry Black's barbecue
Yeah,
since
it's
I've been
gonna
talking
happen.
about it
It's
so
gonna
much.
happen.
It's gonna happen. Well, Val and Coach, appreciate you guys. Congratulations on this. Like, it really has been really cool to see. You know, when we came out to Austin last year, got a glimpse into practice and what it takes to, you know, all the work behind the scenes to lead up to a moment like this. It's really special. And so congrats and enjoy it.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.